Hey. What's up, guys? How you doing? It is time for another episode of Reggie's Expressions. We getting down to the final wire of the podcast. Just to let you guys know, I'm at episode 92. 92. Episode 92. No, this will be episode 93. When we get to 100, we are going to celebrate because it is a great feat to hit 100 episodes in a podcast. And this is my third year, actually, 3 exact years. The beginning of January is when I hit my third year. So that's what we're doing. How are you guys? I hope you guys got a chance to listen to last week episode. That one was a dedication to my dad. It was an episode that I did in 2022. And I think I'm gonna have him on the podcast again before we do one with my my grandmother. I told you guys about that one. That's gonna be an off season one because I will actually be in between the season because I'm only gonna do about 3 more. I'm not gonna do the 20 like I did last time. And well, after this, I'll have 2 more episodes, and then that'll be the season finale, and then I'll come back probably March, April, May. Probably back in May. It all depends on how it goes. Well, maybe that will be first episode because that'll be closer around the time I'll come back. Because I don't want to be gone for any longer than 2 months. So what are we talking about today, Reg? That is a very good question. I will be able to tell you guys here. What we're going to be talking about today is the downside of being a business owner. I know a lot of people like to talk about entrepreneurship and how important it is, and it is important because it's yours. You don't have to worry about some of the things that you go through as an employee, in terms of rules, attendance, and things of that nature. And there's just a lot more revelry around being your own business owner. I see a lot of things that are geared towards people being your own business owner. But for me, I had to figure out why. For a long time, being an employee made sense because it was a check that was coming in that my input had that direct impact on how much I would bring in, you know. And a lot of people will probably say, well, it still was, kind of fitted to what the employee wanted or the employer wanted, which, you know, obviously it's a give and take. But, there's a lot of revelry around being a business owner. But I think that it's difficult sometimes because when you look at a realistic job preview of what it's about, you see only the things that are highlighted in terms of, the great attributes of being a business owner. But there's some downsides too, and one thing about me is I think it's important to talk about both sides of the spectrum. Um, so that's what we're going to get into with also a couple other things depending on how the conversation flows. Y'all know I ain't never got no agenda. Full disclosure, whenever I do these episodes are very organic. I'm just not a person who, works well when it has, certain confines, especially when I'm being creative. I'm just not a fan of that. So I have to be able to have some sense of free reign. So I have a general topic, and this is introducing to anybody that is coming to the podcast that hasn't listened before. Um, I don't like to have restraints on what I can and can't talk about. At the beginning of this start of this season, I was like, oh, well, business is going to be for business, and that's going to be over there, and that's going business informs life, life informs business, work informs life, life informs work. So it is, it's crazy to think that it's, it can be compartmentalized and not to meld and bleed over. Some people are very good compartmentalizers. Me, not so much. So here we are. So with that thought process of we kind of see only the aspect of just the good things. We never really focus into the bad things. And this is not a dive into the negativity of being a business owner. This is really for those who are out there, who may be teetering on that line of something that they want to do, and some of the ancillary things that you don't necessarily think about that can impact your decision. Shout out to everybody that's been listening lately. Thank you so much. I have seen an uptick in downloads and all that other stuff. I appreciate it. I absolutely love it. It can be found on all podcast platforms. All you got to really do is just go on the Googs or, Bing, if that's your thing. You know what I'm saying? Just type in Reggie's Expressions, Reggee, apostrophe S Expressions, and I have all my social medias at the, the link in the description once this is all done. But I appreciate it. I feel like my audience has kind of grown a little bit. I had a coworker who reached out to me yesterday who said that he listened to the episode with my father, and he thought that it was a fun episode. So that's awesome. I'm glad. You never really know who you're going to touch when it comes to the things that you do. And you just have to, at the end of the day, be yourself as much as possible. So anyway, let's get into it. So the downsides of being a business owner, like Richard, what you talking about? Being a business owner, although it can be very rewarding when you onboard customers and you get the reviews and you get the client that might have been a little tough, there are some downsides that I think you guys should consider, when you think about your journey in becoming a business owner, because it could make a big difference in terms of your decision. The first thing I would say is the most obvious is, when you are a business owner and you're working for yourself. In my instance, I have me and my husband. You can sometimes feel alone. You don't really have the work of, if you're like me, YouTube University, you have friends who happen to be, experts in what they do. It can be kind of lonely, really, just trying to process and understand what the next step you can, what's the next step. Like for me, the last couple months I've kind of been stuck a little. I haven't, I've had, goals of wanting to do more weddings during the month, and I have only been able to book and maybe one or two additional weddings from the weddings that have already been booked prior to. A lot of the weddings that I'm playing out now are weddings that I've had since 2022. So I've had a lot of calls. I've had a lot of people. I've had quite a few leads. But in terms of booking, and wanting to, do it as quick as possible and as fast as possible, I haven't really had a lot of on-demand weddings, I guess. Yeah, that's the way to kind of explain it. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the pricing and people thinking like, okay, what he's offering is a little bit more than what I'm willing to pay for right now. Like, I just need my paper signed, you know what I'm saying, for solemnizing the marriage, right? And it's a little disheartening because I would like to say that my experience when it comes to the weddings that I do, it is about the experience. It's solely based on whatever fantasy or idea that you've drawn up for yourself. I'm just a facilitator to make that happen, right? So it's a lot of people do just want to do the basic thing, and you guys may have heard me say something like I've priced them out. My pricing now for an elopement is $225. An elopement doesn't necessarily mean, it can be quick, but it doesn't necessarily, it doesn't mean that you don't have a full ceremony with an elopement. You know what I'm saying? And if you go to some of the drive-ins, like in Vegas, for example, you're going to pay probably twice as much. So, we also have to be compensated for our time and then also the research, because I'm literally doing all the work. You're just showing up. So, um, that's kind of the downside, of I've just been feeling stuck, not knowing what to do, and not really having anybody to bounce ideas off of. Like my friends, are part of the Superior Notary crew. We definitely talk, and they give really good advice. Um, and some of it works, some of it doesn't necessarily work, and that's the way that it is. But sometimes it just feels like you're in a bubble by yourself, and you don't know if you are making an impact with whatever. So when that doubt comes in, it just, you see how I went on a tangent about the other stuff, about price point, and then experience and all that other stuff. That's exactly what I'm speaking to. When you become a business owner, you don't really have the leeway of a company. Like, for example, this last few weeks, my company has been in the mode of last year review. I don't have that. I have to go based on the experiences and things that I've done and what worked and what didn't work, and try to, make it work. And I'm at this place of not only wanting to have a money grab, but also wanting a space where I can, gain footing in the market to be a sought after um, wedding officiant and a sought after notary. You know what I'm saying? So um, those things obviously come with time, but it doesn't mean that you don't get anxious and frustrated in between that time. So, the sense of loneliness and not feeling like you have, community at times to help, um, can be a little daunting. Um, Another thing that I have is, because it's you and maybe a partner, or solely you're a sole entrepreneur, you don't feel like you have real feedback that is valid enough, or valid. The only thing I can say to that is create a community. Go out and as cliche as this may sound, go to YouTube, look at, see if you can find some communities there. Go to Facebook. Facebook is good when it comes to group. I've created the Central Florida Notary Group, which has amassed over 300 people so far. Um, you really have to, find yourself in community with others. Go out and be social, and find yourself in spaces where you can learn. And you learn by putting yourself out there, and getting as much of the experience as you possibly can. Like, for example, coming on, the way I explain it is coming on Central Florida Notary and saying, hey, I have a thing going on. What do you guys think? Getting other, and some of it is gonna fall by the waistline and be stuff that's not tailored to you, and you're gonna have to ignore that. But there's gonna be, for every one person that tells you bad advice, there's gonna be a couple other people that are gonna have a good idea and mindset on what it is you're doing. So, you know, look for groups, that helps with that loneliness, that helps with, the community that you're looking for, to continue keeping you engaged and making sure that you do the best that you can. One thing I think also is, this necessarily doesn't have to apply to being a business owner, just a person in general. We're very hard on ourselves, and a lot of times that comes from a place of comparison. you know you're comparing yourself to ABC Weddings, who did 6 weddings last week. You did one. So being in a perpetual state of comparison, that's another thing. Perpetual state of comparison can affect. I mean, that could get old sometimes. It's like, at what point will you ever be happy with what you have? It's difficult. It can be, it can be very difficult to Um, changing the colors. I kind of like that one. It can be difficult sometimes, because you see all these other people and being in comparison with them, in competition with them, even if they don't know that you're in competition, can be very detrimental. So, my recommendation is to, try to, well, once you go down that rabbit hole, acknowledge it and just stop and get back to the place of center. You know what I'm saying? And if you see yourself getting ready to go down that rabbit hole of comparison, don't do it. Don't go look at what so and so did, unless you're just looking for ideas to be able to come together. Like, for example, the young lady that actually mentored me, I texted her last night because I saw that she had a wedding, and she posted it in the group, and it was congratulatory message, and just checking in. And I told her that I hit my 30th ceremony a couple weddings back, which the wedding today is actually going to be wedding number 34. And she gave me a pat on the back, which is kind of what I was looking for. And I got to know a little bit about what she was doing, and I told her that one of the lead sources that I use isn't really dang fucking with me like that no more, or at least it seemed that way. Even after I talked to the service team, and they were like, "Yeah, your profile, you can do these things," and still kind of low. So, but she was like, "Yeah, so what are some of the things that you're doing to increase your footprint?" And I said, postcards. Let me show you guys. This is the postcard here. It says on the front, it says Eternal Unions Weddings, myself and Carlos's picture. It doesn't show who is what. And then it right here, I'm sorry, on this side, nope, right here. And y'all can't see it because y'all listening to it. But right here it says looking for an officiant, and then it says we can marry you. And then on the back it says Reggie and Carlos and Reggie Socorro Garner. Our phone number's down at the bottom. So for those of you who may be looking at this and ain't got a marriage, got an officiant, I can do it. The top one is for me, my phone number. The bottom one is for Espanol. And then it has the logo. It has the logo. Okay. So I've been sending it out. I have about 15 of them out there in the ether. Who knows what it's gonna do? But at this point, what do you have? What other options you have? So that brings me to my next point. The pitfalls of your lead sources kind of drying up a little bit. What do you do? How do you navigate? That can be a toll taken on you as well, because there's no one that's out there mentoring you. If you don't have a mentor, some people do, most people do, right? She would be considered a mentor for me to kind of give me ideas. She wanted to know where I was, and also she probably was looking for information as well, like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you find that just by going to those communities that I said in the beginning. But that's something that can be an issue too. Just like, okay, I got my Google ads on, I got my Thumbtack ads on with the X amount per week. I got the maximum lead amount. I have my service area so damn big. I'm reaching out to everybody that responds, and don't nobody say nothing. Unfortunately, because there's so many options out there, there is not anything you can do about that. So you have to think outside the box. I last month got, because I'm trying to really get more into remote online notarizations also. I created a postcard, which actually I got from the idea of Ayana and Virgil, who had done it in 2022. And Ayana had, at the latter part of 2022, started to get some feedback on the things that she was, doing. And, it works. So I said, at this point, Reggie, 2023, we are going to do things a little bit differently. We ain't going to do the same thing expecting different results. So we're going to go outside the box. This was something new that I had decided that I wanted to do. So yeah, I made it. I created a postcard, and on the back of it, I do out of country signings, out of state signings, and I do quick claim deeds and more. Okay, and I sent this to a couple of title agency in my area. I've sent out 20 of them so far, and we wait. And I did the same thing for the wedding venues in this area. And I've actually gotten an opportunity to go to a lot of venues. So I need to use that as an alternative to be able to go. Like, for example, when I go out tonight for the wedding that I'm doing, I'm going to take a postcard out there so I can, so they can keep me in mind, because it's a very beautiful venue. So, but sometimes not feeling like you have anybody to bounce ideas off of. Carlos, that's really not his bag. He's very creative. And when it comes to like thinking outside the box, you got to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, right? He's a very good cheerleader. He is someone who, believes and loves anything and everything that I do. But when it comes to, the business side of things, he's never been in business. So it's a different mindset for him. Same thing for me at times. And I've learned a lot of what I've learned from the Superior Notary Crew, and just with time and, trial and error. It can be kind of frustrating to think about things outside the box. That's another reason why you would need to have community, so you can go and grab that piece of knowledge that you might not have grabbed if you had just stayed in your own head. Okay. Another downside would be the amount of money that you have to spend for ongoing expenses. If you weren't in a place, like for example, last year I said I had a fast start, had a really good, like things were working, I was smoothing and shaking. I was able to save a good portion of the money that I had built. I did spend a lot, not gonna lie about that. Um, and that was just really me trying to get my footing, and because I had the money, I spent it. Um, I did spend a lot, but scared money don't make money. You can't be afraid to not spend. And if you are a business owner who is trying to gain customers, you essentially will be spending a lot of money. The good thing is the money that you make in your business, you can reinvest it back into your business. Don't be afraid to do that. So I had to learn that myself. I had to come out the gate, at the beginning of the year, like, all right, Reggie, you've been in it for a year. We got to start thinking of different ways to increase, because you did a good job. You're starting to notice some things are starting to slow up. It's not as coming as easily as it was. This is where this is where where it needs to come out if this is something that you want to do. I'm not gonna lie, there's been times where I've been like, man, well shit, if I don't have another customer, and I get on that whole mindset or whatever, and it's exhausting. It can be taxing, and it's very, like, oh man, I didn't bring another customer in, and I spent about this money on the leads, and freaking Thumbtack is charging me $15 for that particular lead, and I ain't even get a chance to close it. They ain't even respond. My recommendation on that is, if people ain't responding, request a refund. The first couple ones, they may say nah, don't, but request the refund. It is imperative and important that you do, because to be honest, you're paying for it. You know what I'm saying? I think that Thumbtack needs to do a better job of making sure the customer understands that we pay for the lead. And if you're not ready, maybe there should be a little verbiage or something that says, if you ain't ready, uh, don't daggone get on here getting this person thinking that you're ready. You don't. I get a lot of people who are like looky loos, and that's fine. Window shopping. and they don't say anything. You know what I'm saying? I have two people. One person I kind of figured out was not like, it's not gonna happen. Um, she reached out on Thumbtack and she said she's talking to a few other people. Unfortunately, consumers aren't the most honest, and it's probably because they don't feel like they have to give you their honesty, so they don't. And it's not about a creed or oath or ethic that they should be bound to. That's just the way that it is. So don't waste your time on you can't control that. And I've had to learn that myself. But one of the she was just looking for information, and I don't know. The other one, she was like, yeah, send me an invoice, and you will get a lot of that too. Send me an invoice, we'll pay it. And we're at a week after the invoice was sent, and she still ain't paid. So, and I've reached out to her, and I texted her yesterday, and she said, oh, it's just been a bit crazy couple days. So I'm not going to if I get another wedding and it's for that date, then I will let her know that it's unavailable. So what I think is happening is she's probably going around and searching and looking for, and that's quite all right. But she's probably searching for somebody else. Either she feels what I said and what I offered is too expensive, or maybe she just didn't connect with me as a person, even though I did a onboarding with her, and that's time. That's time that but consultations typically are free, so you really can't do nothing about that. So yeah, keep that in mind. And you have to put it in perspective. It's the cost of doing business. Yes, you will have to rein in your expenses, at some point. And you be the judge on when that needs to happen. But it is the cost of doing business to be able to be in communication with customers, and sometimes you will have to spend money to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? You just got to think about it. If I'm being charged $15 for this lead, I'm going to charge the $15 lead fee, as well as whatever I would charge for the wedding. So, that's going to be the difference between, you and everything else. And you got to be able to have the experience to back it up. At this point, I've had over, like I said, 34 weddings. With today's wedding, I have enough experience, I think, to be able to show, hey, look at what I've done. And either you can fuck with me or not. So yeah, that confidence will come eventually. I ain't always had that. I'll be, like for example, I have a wedding that I booked at the very beginning. They paid me $200 to go to motherfucking Tampa. And Tampa is 2 hours away. And it's gonna be between the hours of 6 and 7. Yeah, it's giving undercharged. But that was the footing that I had to do to get into business. I want to share this piece of advice for anybody who is becoming a business owner. You have to set your own prices. I understand that you want to get into the business, and hey, this is just my personal advice. And I did the same thing that a lot of you guys are doing to get into the business, and that was to undercut my value because I didn't know any better. But take some time to look around at some of the marketing, the pricing in your area, because you really could be setting the expectation, kind of devaluing the and it's not solely your responsibility, okay? Because people are always going to look and try to find. But to be honest, in my experience, especially if you are an overachiever like I am, 150, that includes travel, is not viable at all for even just the entry level elopement. You should be charging more, because you're gonna, 9 out of 10 elopements, they just want to show up. There's no effort on their part, none. You just got to be there. You're gonna be the one that's, holding the key. And then you also have to put it in perspective. You structure the wedding, so it goes. If you say it goes, you know what I'm saying? They have to consult with you on if there's anything additional, because you are the officiant. You're the center of it all. So if it look weird and you ain't on board with it, it's gonna be known. I say all that to say, really take some time to dig into what your pricing is, because it can make someone like me who do charge for the experience of it all, look like I'm expensive. I mean, 225 for a wedding where I'm going to do about 8 or 9 hours of work, which literally I am. Two of them being at the wedding prior to, because weddings never start on time. Let's see. So if a package is $225, divide by 8 hours, that's about $28 an hour. 28. So what's the 8 hours? Okay, 2 hours at the wedding. 30 minutes before the wedding is automatically an hour, and then the ceremony, or then the after ceremony, because I ain't trying to get up and get out and sign. I just, I want to hang, mix and mingle, do whatever it is I got to do to hang out. You know what I'm saying? That the time that it's going to take for you to get the vows, the being in communication with them, whether they want to change things, add things, or whatever. All those things take time. Your travel, which is the biggest expense, because if you're charging 65 cents per, mile, that can be quite costly, especially if it's 100 miles away, round trip. So you have to put all those things in perspective. Me charging $2,200 for a wedding that I'm doing in next Friday is absolutely not the answer. But I had to learn. You know what I'm saying? It was what I had to do. Right now, for that same type of wedding, with what they have, and some people will tell you not to talk about wedding sizes and stuff like that. But I think that's the only way you can really kind of justify the pricing, because a lot of times folks will be like, well, well, I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that. It's like, well, it's still 225 no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where we're at. So just keep that in mind, But at the end of the day, fuck what I said. If it don't work for you, do you. I obviously can't be mad at that, but I do find myself now, because there's so many options out there and so many people that I've helped onboard, get onto the platforms that I'm on. I see a lot of the same price points that I had when I started, and it's like, fuck, because I'm at 225, they're at 150. They're gonna go with the 150 every time. You know what I'm saying? Because in their mind, they only need you for the ceremony. Like, that's all you're gonna do. Like, you're gonna be like, hey, ceremony. Okay, bye. No, it's never that. What about my waiting? What about my dinner? What about my, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do we? So I'm preaching to the choir. We're gonna move on from that, because that's making me hot. I'm still a little upset about that. I'm upset. And last but not least, the downside of being a business owner is never really fully knowing the impact of what you're doing. I mean, with clients, yes. I mean, they tell you. They tell you right away, oh my God, that was awesome. Great. Great. But sometimes you might not have your friends or family who are, they kind of defaulted to be able to help you and get you to where you're going. Sometimes not really, they ain't gonna really say too much. They're gonna tell you, oh my God, they're gonna him talking about his business again. They're gonna him transferring his doggone stuff from his doggone page that I'm on. I got to see it again. Oh my God. You always talking about his business. You're gonna get a lot of that. Some of it could be jealousy. Some of it could just be social media fatigue. Some of it can be just people that just don't want to pay attention. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just, no, I don't want to talk about it. We got too much in the world. I ain't got time for that. You're going to have a lot of that, and that goes back to my point of making sure you have people that are you're in community in. Here in a second, before I let you guys go, I'm going to go down a list of places that I think you guys should look into, communities you should check into, to help. See how it works. If it don't work, you can just delete it, because that's what I do. But you're gonna have people who ain't gonna necessarily be on board, even though you might have the level of success. that you feel like you should have, you still gonna have people that gonna be like, so, and what that mean? What you want me to do about that? You know what I'm saying? I'm clearly talking about my Albany people. I'm just playing Albany. Y'all know I love you. I'm from there, so that would y'all get it anyway. But that's going to also make you feel alone, and that's okay. You know, it's nothing wrong with that. And if all else fails, you can reach out to me. You know, if you want to just talk the shit about this stupid ass customer that you had that don't know no better, like for example, yesterday I had a oh, but I have a point. Yesterday I had this crazy customer that I was doing an online notarization for, and that something else popped up. I was doing an online notarization for, and long story short, they wanted me to notarize a paper that wasn't even them. It was like, what? But you know, you have to do it with poise, especially. I mean, even though you may be using somebody else's platform to do their thing, you still have to make sure that you're professional because they, you know, they can find, you know, like for example, I had my polo shirt on, you know, that had my logo. So yeah, absolutely, they can go and find or you know see and look at me, and you know, I essentially can be a reflection. So you don't want to ever be rude. Um, so the point that I just found out before, or the point that I was gonna make that I just remembered is you got to know when to pivot. You know, shout out to the you know the homie. She was like, yeah, pivoting. So when she asked me and I told her what things I done, she was like, oh, way to pivot. You got to be willing to pivot sometimes. And that may be pivoting on something, an idea that you felt strongly about, or pivoting on a particular moment where, um, you know, this was going to bring so much stuff. If it's not working, it doesn't hurt to change course, you know. And then also, you know, under your business umbrella, think about all the things that you can bring to the table, you know, under your business that you could do. And let's say, for example, weddings isn't the case. And this is under my notary slash wedding business. Weddings isn't the case. Let's go back to general notary work. Where can we, you know, help with that? Or remote online notary. This month and last month, I have been focusing enormously on getting alternative coins by working those platforms like eNotary On Call, working those platforms like Notarize, which I think there's nothing else to do on that one. But looking at ways to be able to keep yourself engaged, you know, doing that, you know, don't be afraid to pivot. Sometimes it's like I put my energy and all into this promotion. Like, for example, my promotion this month is $25 off of any wedding booked. I have had a few conversations. I was able to give a young lady $25 off because of the promotion, and she was all excited and ready to go. Text, you know, a couple weeks ago, we were supposed to have a meeting yesterday. Text a couple weeks ago, she was like, "Oh, I'm sad. We're gonna have to have an elopement," and then I hadn't heard anything else from her. So that's gonna happen. So you know, what do? You just move on, pivot, and you know, maybe promotions isn't where it's at. I'm not gonna change my pricing just because I don't feel like it. I need to. These pricing changes are new. So I am going to just, I'm going to let it sit for a while. So that may means I might not get as many leads as I was getting before, but you know, it is what it is. Trial and error. It's the least that you can do. So with that being said, guys, that is all I got. I hope this is helpful. And I didn't want to try to dig too dig too deep into, you know, the negativity or the downside of it. I want you guys to take time to think about it yourself and tell me what you think. You know what I'm saying? You know, tell me what some things plague you as being a business owner, because I know there's some things out there that plague you that you probably, you know, are thinking of as you're listening to this or watching this. So I'm gonna go ahead and go. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I do have a wedding. I do not have my watch on. I do have a wedding here at 4 o'clock, so I'm gonna be getting ready for that. And yeah, this one's going to be interesting. Sand ceremony, all that fun stuff in Tavares. So yeah, I'm excited. I am looking forward to seeing what is going to happen. So yeah, I will let you guys know. You'll be able to see the pictures on Reggie's, not Reggie Expressions. Reggie Expressions is where the podcast lives. The the page Eternal Unions Weddings and Reggie's Mobile Notary is where you can go, and I don't mind. You can like, subscribe, or like and follow the page. I really appreciate it. And I'll make sure that I put that in a description link so you guys will be able to see it. And yeah, just at the end of the day, stay as positive as you possibly can, but be realistic about what it is you're feeling, and don't be afraid to express that. Don't be afraid to express how you feel about something up front, because you're gonna have to be your check-in and your own self analyzer to keep you on track, if you are a solo business owner, or maybe it's just you and one person. So keep that in mind. All right. You guys have a good rest of your day. It's been another episode of Reggie's Expressions. You can find me at Reggie's Expression. That's REGGEE' Expressions on on Facebook. And you can find me at Reggie's REGGEE S_expressions on Instagram. You can also find me Reggie Expressions on YouTube as well. I am a part of the Central Florida Notary. Oh, that's what I meant to do. So some of the, if you are a notary, some of the communities that you would want to make sure you take advantage of, or if you're a podcaster, and you happen to be Black, you can do Black Podcasters Association. Check out Corey Gums, who's the founder and owner of that. If you are a notary, some of the things that you can jump into, or if you're a wedding officiant as well, there's Wedding Officiants of America. You can be a Florida wedding officiant. I don't know the specific name, but you can type in Florida wedding officiant and a page will come up. Join it. Florida Ronnie's, which is Florida Remote Online Notaries here in the state of Florida. I just joined that one yesterday. There is a remote online notary community, which seems to really be about the extension of other notary acts that we do. And it's like, I thought this was Ron. And then also taking advantage of Notary Stars. They have a online community and Facebook community that they have. Loan signing systems. If you're looking for continued education, there's a paywall for both of those, so you do have to consider that and see if that's worth you spending your money on. And then also just look at some of the local Florida, if you're in Florida, but the local notary groups in your area, and come check out Central Florida Notary. That is Central Florida Notaries, not notary, notaries. And I'm also on YouTube with that also as well. All right. You guys did see my Cash App. It is not in any way, shape, or form required, but appreciate it if you did decide to send something. Okay. Not something you have to do, but I would love it if you did. I would be very appreciative if you did. All right. So you guys have a good rest of your day. I'm out. I'm going to get something to eat before it gets too late. And then I'm just going to relax before my next wedding. So be on the lookout for the pictures. All right. Bye, guys.